Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Today we are going to talk about the top 5 perfumes for the month of September 2020. Now, I've waited a longer period of time in September because usually I do top of the month perfumes like first half of the month because those are the ones I use mostly in the month. But there is a topic and there is a theme. There always is a theme in my 5 top perfumes for the month of whatever month, but this particular theme is connected to this particular month, and in particular to the end of summer and beginning of fall, like early fall, late summer, early fall. Why am I saying this? Well, we're going to discover it as we go through it. Before we get to it, let me just pitch my own merch, shall I? Everybody pitches some sort of promotion, sponsors, this and that. No. I'm doing myself. So here you go. Merch. I've announced this already almost like a month ago. This is the limited edition Halloween perfume bottle. Actually, this is the regular perfume bottle, the Dacob the extract. We also have Dacob the psychedelic pumpkin extract, which is basically the perfume. Once you spray it, the whole world turns to psychedelic colors because the smell of it is that intoxicating and crazy. It's maybe a perfume for ghosts, maybe a perfume for the dead, maybe a perfume for the living that are dead inside. No, I'm kidding. It's not really a perfume because there was no budget to actually create a perfume, but there's the whole merch that goes with it for the Halloween season. You can get all of this, hoodies, crew necks, mugs, stickers, on t-shirts on my Teespring Fashion Bunker shop. And the link to it is in the description box. I shall pin it. Also, as a first comment in the comment section, it's in the description box, but also on that kind of shelf thingy that is a scroll bar right underneath this video, so you could check it all out there. Very important to note, you need to follow that exact link I give you to find the shop. Otherwise, you cannot see it. It's like a ghost. It doesn't really exist. It only exists if you follow a particular link. It's very hidden, very secret. 31st of October is the end date to order. After that, the collection shall be gone, as all spirits shall leave us after Halloween. Now, speaking of the season of autumn kicking in, the first perfume is Alexander McQueen's McQueen. Now, this is the fragrance that's been launched after his demise. Unfortunately, all of his perfumes were discontinued, and then Coty brought out a new series of fragrances. Mind you, let's just tell you what it's all about. We're talking about tuberose this month. And tuberose blossoms in the main time for tuberose is late summer, early fall. And that's exactly now as we're filming. We're just a couple of days into fall officially. So this is the perfect time to talk about tuberose because this is tuberose's favorite time of the year. That's when the tuberose decides to blossom and give us all of that crazy, intoxicating, desire-filled, and passion-quenched and drenched smell and odor. So I always forget the Agave Polyanthus tuberosa, that is its name in Latin, also known as the double flowering tuberose, but also known as the pearl, has a bit of a history to it. Now, I've mentioned in several videos of mine that in them olden days, now you could think about the time of Louis XIV or 13th or 14th, how many numbers of those Louises were there. Ladies and mademoiselles were not allowed to really smell the tuberose if they were underage because it was said to give you an instant orgasm. So that's how intense and intoxicating it is. And also, it blooms at night. It kind of ignites even more passion and desire within. Of course, my selection of 5 perfumes is going to be tuberose based, duh. But a twist to the way I approach the tuberose fragrances in September is that, unlike my other top 5 fragrances where I list the utility, I utilize them throughout the day. So I would tell you basically what I spray in the morning, then how I transition into midday, early afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, and then night. This is going to be different because tuberose is so intense and powerful. You can't really, if you're really going to go for it in terms of quantity of tuberose on your body and smell, you're just going to stick with that fragrance throughout the entire day. And mind you, what is really interesting, also, for example, beginning with this one. So let's just say for one day of the week, let's say on a Monday, we're going to go for McQueen. This one is very clean, airy, and this one rotates around night blooming flowers. So it's not just the tuberose. This one also has ylang ylang. This one also has jasmine and other scents in it, but it's very floral and kind of clean and soapy. You know, Coty does do very chemical, very synthetic fragrances. Nevertheless, it really works very well for the eau de parfum of McQueen. Not so well with the pure perfume. I have reviewed the pure perfume. You can check that out. It doesn't hit the spot like the eau de parfum does. So great. Lucky us, because the eau de parfum is way cheaper anyway. I think the pure perfume has even been discontinued. So if you're going to go all over with the tuberose, with McQueen, if you just spray it very delicately, just one little spritz early in the morning, then of course you could blend it in with other fragrances throughout the day. But if you're going to go full on out McQueen tuberose, you can't really combine it with this. So you mean, we're talking 10 sprays. If you overspray it, and then, you know, on the chest, the back, behind the knee, all over the place, and then you take the bottle with you on the go if you're working, and then you freshen up throughout the day, this is the one to stick to. You don't want to mix it with other fragrances. So if you overdose it, you stick to this one. It's very light, nevertheless, for a tuberose fragrance, because this one underlines and accentuates the clean aspect of tuberose. Now, tuberose can also have a dirty aspect to it, but this is the clean side of tuberose. So this is number one. By the way, from here on out, for every month I do my top of the month perfumes, I will be adding the perfumes to my Amazon page. So some of them you can find there. They are available to be purchased through Amazon. The link will be in the description box down below. But mind you, when you follow that link, you will get to the page with the perfume, and then you will read the description of the perfume, and that's all fine. But in your country, it could be that you find an even better deal. So don't just stick, you know, to that particular link that I sent you. You follow that link. Once you get there to your Amazon, to your country, you might find that same fragrance for even cheaper in your country. So keep looking, you know what I mean? You might find an even better offer or better deal. Another thing I wanted to say, this video has or will be longer and extended with behind the top 5 fragrances for the month of September for my patrons. So for my patrons, stay tuned, because at the end of this video, it will continue into the depths and even longer tracks and trails of behind the top perfumes for the month of September. So for who hasn't already, you can consider joining me, becoming a patron on Patreon. It's SUPERDACOB, all spelled together. Number 2 is a very complex and complicated fragrance that many people do not associate with tuberose when they first smell it, or even when they smell it many, many, many times, and that is Eden by CASHMERE. So we have the new formulation, well, 2015 formulation, and we have a little miniature splash 5 ml bottle from the 90s original formulation. Now, very, very different. I will be reviewing this one hopefully soon. I can already say this is an interesting, the original formulation and the reformulation. Now you can still smell out Eden or Eden, and I love both of them. Actually, I cannot say that either one of the two is bad. They're both amazing. I really love both of them to bits. However, the original formulation is warm from the get-go. It's like you have to envision Eden as a garden of Eden, where the fruits, and many have said this already in other reviews, and it is true. It's simply true. It's as if all those fruits and all that sexuality and tension, and again, tuberose and sexuality go like hand in hand. You have Eve and you have Adam, and they're both in this Garden of Eden, and that's how the commercial plays out from CASHMERE's Eden. But all of these fruits are overripe in this garden, and you could even sense out a lily. You know, when a lily gets overripe, it starts smelling of that sweet decay. That's why also people call it, you know, the sweet. In poetry and literature from the past, you would describe death as the sweet smell of death, because I ain't no doctor, but I read a little bit about it. The first thing that starts decomposing in our body after we pass on are the sugars. And so hence you have, before all that rotting smell kicks in, great, we're talking about perfumes, but guess what? Perfumes and death also go hand in hand in my book. Anyway, you have that kind of sweet, rotting sweet smell that kicks in first before all those more unpleasant smells. And this is also why a lot of the flies that kind of, the maggots, everything that comes in that goes onto the corpses, this is what attracts them first. It's the sweet smell that attracts these flies as the first creatures that can sense death. So Eden has that tone in it. Now this sounds really creepy to a lot of you. Probably going to think like, what the heck? But you can envision the original as being the overripe fruits that are starting to rot in summer, where everything is warm and subdued by the heat. There's no wind really blowing all this smell through these. So you kind of smell it out here and there, but it's very warm. As opposed to the actual current formulation of Eden, where these overripe fruits are actually overripening in winter. So there's a cold aspect to them. In fact, this one is way more synthetic than this one. They're both synthetic, but this one is a bit more metallic. And that metallic tone gives it a vibe of metallic rotting fruits. So the way I'm describing it sounds really harsh. And mind you, Eden is really harsh. But the magic of this fragrance is if you overcome that death, and if you overcome that feeling of discomfort because you're confronted with something that you want to avoid, right? As a living being, you just want to avoid death. Once you deal with it, Eden allows you to kind of go over that hill of issues that you're dealing with, and you get to experience pure pleasure. And that's where the tuberose, mixed with the patchouli and the mimosa, kicks in. The current formulation I would highly recommend in warm weather. This is what I do with it. I spray it behind my knees, only behind my knees. Usually I'm wearing shorts, short pants, whatever. So you get wafts of it. It's distant enough from your nose. You kind of get the best of it in from that distance. Like from your nose, the knee is exactly the distance you need for it to smell at its best. In colder months, it doesn't blossom as much as it would in warmer months. I also love it for colder months, but to me, it's at its peak in summer. In colder months, you could also wear it closer to your nose, chest area, but hey, it could even be too close. However, if you find the original formulation, you can enjoy it completely, day and night, summer or winter, because it doesn't have a metallic tone to it. It's warm and soft from the get-go. It's not as harsh as the current formulation. It's deeper, it's more rounded, it's more organic, if you may. It's less metallic and it's less synthetic smelling, it's more organic. It's very deep nevertheless, but you feel like you're putting your hand in a very, very ripe papaya, and it's like all mushy inside, and it's like, it feels very organic, while this one is a bit more dry, if you may. And of course, you got to spend the whole day with Eden if you're gonna really want to experience it. The tuberose in this one is more dirty. It's not that clean tuberose that we had in McQueen. This is a more dirty one because this one is kind of at its end phase when it's kind of closing up again. Morning is kicking in and the tuberose is closing, or it's kind of fading off. Number 3, and you got to spend the whole day with this one because this one is very demanding of your attention and respect. That would be Robert Piguet's Fraca. Now, Fraca is, okay, this is the most soapy but dangerous dagger type of slasher type of tuberose. Now that we're, in the spooky season anyway, I would say Fraca is perfection. Perfection for this time of year. It smells, I have reviewed it, so you could check out the review also on my YouTube channel. It's been reformulated, obviously. I mean, this is a 30s concoction that that's been brought back in the 80s, 90s, and it's kind of gone through some reformulations, even though the package of this one states that there has been no reformulation, that the formula is 1-to-1 as it used to be. I mean, to each their own. Doesn't matter. I still love it. It still lasts a long time. And this one accentuates, you know, you would say it's a femme fatale. It's like a thriller, a film noir that's connected, or the Black Dahlia that's connected to Fraca. But, and in many ways it is, but I would say that Fraca is not as dirty a tuberose as is Eden. It's more dangerous, but it's more calculating. It knows a bit more what it wants, where it's going. It's not rotting. It's not kind of falling apart. It's a cold-blooded tuberose, okay? It's a tuberose in the middle of the night that is at its peak, and at its peak, it's ready to kill. You know, it blossomed, it opened up, you know, the flowers completely open. We're in the middle of the night, and Fraca is ready to take the kill. You know, it's ready to, whoever's passing by it, it's going to inebriate you. It's going to take your sins away, all the senses. It's going to, not sins, senses. Sins, nobody can take those away. Only you yourself. But your senses, and it will intoxicate you in a way, you know. It's that powerful. So, of course, if you're gonna delicately, like just like from a far, far distance, spray it in the air and then just like pass through it with your arm and wear it that way, of course it's not going to last long, and then you might use another perfume throughout the day. But if you're really going to puddle spray it all over you, then you cannot you cannot mix it with another fragrance throughout the day, you know. So let's just say that McQueen was our Monday, Eden was our Tuesday, Fraca is our Wednesday fragrance. Number 4 is, I think a lot of you who know me and follow my channel are thinking, you think you know what's going to be number 5 as the most potent of the tuberoses, but you're wrong, because it's number 4, Carnal Flower. Carnal Flower is our Thursday, I suppose. Dominique Ropion's Frederic Malle series or collection of fragrances, Carnal Flower. Now, this is the purest of tuberoses, the most concentrated amount of tuberose you can find in a fragrance. That's how they promote it, at least. This is also the most natural smelling tuberose I've ever found in a fragrance. This is very potent stuff. No matter if you spray just a little droplet on yourself or all over yourself, you can't mix anything with it throughout the day. This one will just keep on going and lingering and going and going and going, and on your clothes it's going to stick for days. And it's just that powerful from batch to batch. Slightly varies. The harvest of the tuberose is different every season, obviously, so the fragrance has the most incredible variations from batch to batch. It's so beautiful. You have to rediscover it anew. So if you finish a bottle and you go to purchase another bottle, you just check at the bottom of the bottle, usually have etched in to the glass the batch codes. They will be very different. And this is a good sign. It actually tells us that hopefully they're harvesting some stuff there that is not just synthetically reproduced in a lab. Of course, with all fragrances nowadays, synthetics are the word du jour. You cannot avoid them. However, Carnal Flower, it just feels wet, fresh, cold, hot, alluring. It also pushes you away, but it kind of slaps you in the face like Cher would in Moonstruck, and then, you know, snap out of it. But then, like, you're like, okay, F you, I'm leaving. And then she grabs you again and says, no, don't go. And it's kind of this constant, passionate fight and feeling. And Carnal Flower is very, very difficult to pull off because it smells of Carnal Flower. So, and this is one of the biggest reasons it took me a long time to actually purchase a full 100 milliliter bottle, because whenever I do smell it on people, the people are gone for me. I just smell Carnal Flower. And this is a big issue because I do like when a fragrance finds its way to blend in with you so that it smells of you, that it accentuates you. With Carnal Flower, it's very easy to overspray it and make that mistake, and then it just takes over all of what and who you are, and then you smell of Carnal Flower. Carnal Flower doesn't smell of you. And that is an issue for me. So this one, I dose it with extreme caution and care, just to as subtle as possible in order for it to blend in with me in the right way. And when that happens, it's magic. If I overdo it, then it's just Carnal Flower. It's all about Carnal Flower. And Carnal Flower ain't going to steal my stage. So, now, what could be number 5? Any guesses? The 5th one is also actually my favorite tuberose fragrance of all time. And this is very rare. I've never spoken about this fragrance. And it actually happens to also be my mom's favorite perfume. So maybe that plays a role. Maybe I am a bit biased. But since it came out in 1981, it took over the world. And even though today they classify it as a cheapie, in my heart, it's still top of the game. And that's Giorgio by Giorgio Beverly Hills. This one is the top of the game when it comes to tuberose for me. It's synthetic as F, but if you know how to deal with it, and I will review this one. This one really merits a really in-depth review because this one has been around since the 80s and it's gone through so many reformulations, not only reformulations, but also distributions. So from Giorgio Beverly Hills, passed on from brand to brand to Estee Lauder. Elizabeth Arden. I think it's Elizabeth Arden at the moment. But Elizabeth Arden, it's Elizabeth Arden. But Elizabeth Arden is Revlon. So anyway, it's been made in the States. It's been made in France. It's been made in the UK. It's currently being made in Spain. It's been made in the Netherlands. Like, I'm telling you, this fragrance has been through everything, an odyssey. And so much I can tell you already now before I do a review. Of course, made in USA is the most potent version of it, but made in France is the closest fresh aspect to Giorgio as it used to smell in the 80s. Now, I do have vintage bottles, and this is, long story short, the made in France version of Giorgio has been discontinued. Now they only make it in Spain. Do not buy the made in Spain version, which is the current one. It's just not it. So try to hunt down made in France or a made in USA bottle. Made in UK is also interesting, even though a bit darker in its smell. I've never hunted down a made in the Netherlands. I just seen photos of it online, but I never smelled the Netherlands version. It's just super weird, like made in the Netherlands. Bizarre. Made in France is my favorite because it brings to the forefront the tuberose of my dreams. And you know, I've been just watching the other day some YouTube video, like master class about filmmaking, and some specialist was doing a cinematographer, lighting, professional lighting, and yada yada. And he spent like 1 hour blabbering on how to set artificial lighting to make it look like natural lighting, and how natural lighting comes through separate windows in a house, and then you have shadows falling. You know, sometimes you have 3 shadows off. And I'm like, okay, boo, I'm paying you 1,500 and upwards a day, or no, an hour, actually. It was super expensive. To do what? To, in a studio, deliver lighting that looks natural, when I could have just gone to an apartment, book an apartment, rent an apartment that fits my story the best and just use natural lighting. No. If I want to recreate, and this is just my personal preference, mind you, everybody has their own taste, so whatever. But my personal taste is, if I'm creating a film, a movie, I want the artifice. I want the artificial. I want a dream. I want something that cannot be found in nature. I want something that makes you go, oh my God, what is this? I want it to tickle your fancy and your fantasy. You know, I want it to also make you dig deeper down inside your own dreams, and those are not natural. And this to rein it back into Giorgio. It's so funny. Not Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani is something totally different. It has nothing to do with Giorgio Beverly Hills, just for the record. Some of you who don't know this fragrance might think it has to do with Giorgio Armani. No. This is an American product, American brand. It was born, in Los Angeles. So anyway, the tuberose in here is an artificial, it's kind of like a dream of a tuberose. When you dream about tuberose, this is how it smells to me. It has, it's anchored in reality because it exists, but whoever composed this fragrance made it in such a way that you really dream. And it's such a good mood, good vibe perfume for summer, for winter, fall, spring. Whenever I put it on, it just makes you feel good. But mind you, it's not an easy fragrance. It's not, well, the 80s version of it was hardcore. Like you could suffocate with it. It was really hardcore. Now it's a bit toned down, but it's the toning down of it has done this fragrance a world of good. And it's perfect for now. And I think in particular for the times we're living in where, life kind of sucks due to the situation we're going through. This one is the best mood booster out there because it's sunny. It is literally sunshine in a bottle. So this is the aspect, and this is why I'm saying this is not natural, because tuberose, it reminds us of night. It's a night blooming flower. But the creator of Giorgio managed to make this tuberose smell like how a tuberose would smell if a tuberose would bloom during the day. That's what Giorgio Beverly Hills is. It's a daytime tuberose. It is luxurious for the soul because it literally lulls you, it cuddles you, it cradles you, it makes you feel like everything will be fine. It makes you smell and feel clean inside and out. It also makes you feel like the whole world is your friend. Aggressions are gone. Nobody around you. Actually, this is also a funny thing. Whenever I do wear it, people around me are in a better mood. There's less aggression out there. And usually, now in the times we're living in, there's a lot of aggressive people out there. They're always ready to just attack you for no reason because they're so full of their own frustrations. They just can't wait for a second to let it out on somebody else. It's a primordial animal instinct that these people have. So they don't self-analyze themselves. There's no, self-analytics inside their brain. So they just kind of spew their shite onto you because they don't know any better. Lack of education, but also allowing instincts to dominate over your humanity. Anyway, I have the feeling this one really functions very well as a protection shield against all of that. So when I do wear Giorgio Beverly Hills, it is only this one that entire day. And I do refresh it every 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, because then I get kind of like a boost of morning sunshine all over again. And it's perfection. It's perfection for this day and age. 2020 and Giorgio Beverly Hills. This is my top tuberose. So these are the top 5 fragrances for the month of September, you guys. If you like this video, please do thumb it up. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. And also click that notifications button for so that you get notified that actually new videos are coming up. Also, I've initiated a couple of months ago a separate Instagram profiles. Of course, I do have SUPERDACOB, all spelled together, on Instagram, where you can follow me, but I also have Coco Chanel is in my house. It is my entire Chanel collection and all what's going down with Chanel, the brand nowadays. And then I also have the Coco Chanel Privé, also all spelled together, which is a kind of a secret Instagram profile, as if Coco Chanel were still alive, and all the photos are just, all the posts are related to her while she was still alive. So it's kind of my way of keeping her spirit alive, of keeping the memory of Coco alive. And mind you, Coco herself is not always the same as Chanel the brand. These are two different worlds. Sometimes they kind of touch each other, sometimes they veer away from each other. So that's something you can also check out if you haven't already. And for my patrons, stay tuned, because at the end of this video I will continue with behind the fragrances for the month of September 2020, which is a whole other video and a whole other topic that is exclusive only to Patreon. So thank you to all my patrons for helping out the channel and being my patrons on Patreon. Also, SUPERDACOB all spelled together there. You could go to Patreon, check it out, and find a lot of videos that are not on YouTube, and also a lot of topics that are not on YouTube. And a lot of special also art treats that could not be shown on YouTube, really, because of several reasons. You'll know once you're over there, once you're on Patreon, so you'll figure that out. Anyway, until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. See you soon. Take care. Bye.